Hi, guys. We're back at it again with another amazing individual on the podcast. Welcome back to Forbidden Depths. Today, we're going to be talking to Samantha Knox. They are so talented, so gorgeous on every level, jack of all trades. It's an opportunity that you don't want to miss. So, let's go ahead, get started, see what they have to say. They are a pole instructor, a stripper, a sex worker, and also a professional girlfriend. So let's dig into this and see what they have to say today. Keep an open mind and an open heart. Also, if you want to follow them on social media, I'll be leaving it in the bio. You can follow them there. Also, you can find them at Samantha Knox. That's SAMANTHAKNOXXX on Twitter. So let's go ahead and dive in and see this amazing creature. Awesome. So, thank you so much, one, for being present today, and two, for being so amazing. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone on the podcast.
Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. My name's Samantha. That is my stage name predominantly, but I also go by Sam or Sammy, and I use they, them pronouns.
And if you don't follow them on Twitter, make sure you do. They're amazing.
And this is when I'm supposed to drop my Twitter handle. Frick, I forget. Samantha Knox is one of them with three X's. Samantha KNOXXX, I believe. And then my other one, I think you can find it through that one. Yeah, thank
We
you
can
so
we
much
can
for
link it.
having me.
We can link it in the bio too, so you guys can find
Okay,
her.
perfect. Amazing. That's so much easier than me like verbalizing it over
Yes, go find them. I'll leave it in the bio so you can find them on there. But overall, they're really, really amazing into so many things, so talented. I cannot stress enough how talented. I've been following them for a really long time on Twitter, and I'm going to tell you, I've been amazed for a long time at the dance alone. If for nothing else, the dance alone is a marvel. So,
Oh, thank you.
you're welcome. And Sammy, let's talk about your profession as a whole. What do you consider yourself?
Oh, wow. I'm actually,
Like, you can be multiple things. It doesn't have
I
to be one thing.
know, I know. I've had this conversation a lot with people over the last couple of years because like my work has been the forefront of my life as a human being, like as for many of us. But a lot of people are like, but like, what are you other than a sex worker? Like, what are you outside of that? And I was like, bruh, I'm a human. Like, I'm a lot
Right?
of things. Like, I'm figuring
Right.
it out. But yeah, just I'm in a transitional period right now of kind of like figuring out a marketing term wise, it would be a rebrand, but like I never really like came into things like with the intention of having a brand. I was just like,
Right.
I gotta shake my butt to pay my bills. My dog's
Right?
sick today. So um, you know,
Feed those kids.
I have like, realized the business that I have and the things that I could do and like just learning the way of the world that has been structured by a bunch of dudes and that isn't meant for me, and trying to figure that all out is I'm in this place of like, oh frick, like what do I want to call myself? What do I
Mhm.
have so many names and so many different costumes that I could put on, I guess you could
Right.
say, and it like makes my inner theater kid so joyful. But it's like turning that into something that is consumable is really it's really hard. I've had some interactions over the last year where like I met some really artistic, magical humans, and they were like, "You're an artist," and I was like, "No, I'm not." And then I was like, "No, I am. Like I am, and I always have been." And like coming back into that, like being able to dance over COVID for myself and not it being something that was like for work for men, specifically
Right.
for the male gaze. I was able to explore movement differently on my own while still also exploring like the industry
Mm-hmm.
in the ways that I was already involved, but just like changing my focus, shifting gears, and transitioning into like new places. So I guess to put it simply, I have no idea. I'm a sex worker, definitely. I I believe I enjoy the term energy worker. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that really resonates with me. But I think that there's a lot of this like wellness, spiritual, cultural language that like I don't really know how well it resonates with me, especially because it's coming from like a super heteronormative lens. It's just
Oh, yes.
I like the idea of like divine feminine because yes, like femininity resonates with me, but like I just think we have no idea what feminine and masculine actually mean. Like we have associated it with
The
certain
social
things, and that
construct.
yeah, that's not necessarily really
Yeah.
what it is. If we're thinking about it in the essence of energy. So I'm just in a stage of rebranding, but like it is interesting also just to see the way people receive me differently. Um, when I talk about my work, when I introduce myself first as a sex worker or
Mm-hmm.
as like a dance instructor or a movement artist or like an energy worker, like that stuff is so much more people are like, ooh, ah. And when I say sex worker, people are like, ooh, ah,
Yeah.
okay, like tell me more. But like it's a
Right.
very different vibe and I'm I'm not trying to like be something that I'm not. I'm just trying to figure out a way to blend it and
Right.
like do so in a way that like works for me as somebody who is an entrepreneur, as all the dude bros would say.
Hmm. It does seem that when it comes to being in the public eye and being some kind of performer, they are more harsh on sex work than they are even dancers,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And the really discouraging part is there's division within the community itself. Like,
Yeah.
like they look at each other like, you're not as good as me. When in all reality, we're literally all in sex work. Like, what
All
is
an
that about?
exchange. It's all an energy exchange. Yeah.
It's very discouraging for people within your own community to look down upon you because you're not in the same category as them. Yeah, maybe in-person stuff isn't for you, but it doesn't mean that it's not for this person. Just like people that have the online accounts and they only do online sex work. It doesn't make them any better than people that do it in person, but they're like holding their nose up
Yeah.
at people, looking down at people. And I have an issue with that, obviously, because I'm like, all these people preach about equality, but do they really want it?
Do they even know what it means?
Yeah. Yeah. So that leads us to my next question. Is the industry that you work in an easy one?
Oh, bro, I don't think any industry is easy to work in. I don't think I don't think existing as a human being right now is very easy. I saw this TikTok this morning right before we hopped on, and it was like, okay, what if we're already in hell? Because
Mm,
hell is suffering,
right?
and this is suffering.
Daily.
People are suffering, and it's so strange that like people I get a lot of comments on TikTok, like, you know, the good old, like, oh, you just put your legs back and you just take it and your job's so easy. And I'm like, have you
Hmm.
ever fornicated for longer than 5 minutes? Have you
Yeah.
ever been intimate with somebody for like 3 hours at a time without any penetration?
Yeah.
Have you talked about your deepest and darkest desires and secrets? I don't know.
Have you
But
been somebody's therapist for months at a time?
yeah,
No?
and it's like I definitely take that on a lot. Like I do, I'm a very depthy person, and I ask a lot of deep questions. And like I think it's funny because a lot of the times I've had clients that were like, "Oh boy." I was not prepared for that combo. Like, ooh, like it's good,
Yeah.
and then you're also over here like bringing out things within me that I like I didn't know I needed to talk about. And it's like
Hmm.
I never take it too far. I never go too deep because I just ask like questions that they've maybe never been asked before. They don't even have
Yeah.
to be that deep, but I can garner so much from a look.
Right.
And just like a response. And it's like even just like allowing people to feel safe to be like, I actually don't want to talk about this,
Yes.
because so often we're like put under, and I know what that's like, being asked like, oh, what do you do for work, and me being like, ugh, yeah, like how much
Right.
energy do I want to spend today? Do
Yeah.
I want to lie? Am I an artist? What's gonna be? But
Right.
I don't think it's easy, but I don't think work in general is easy, and I do not think life is easy. I think that it's
Yes.
a strange way to like frame any type of labor or any type of like exchange where it's like one has more value than the other. It's,
Yeah.
it's capitalism, baby.
Yeah.
The
100%.
patriarchy, baby.
100%. Oh, down with patriarchy. Down.
Like
So,
as phoenix, we will rise from the ashes. I hope
yeah.
we don't all burn though.
Yeah, we are. I guess there's a fine line, I guess, when it comes to that kind of thing. Like if we were to go change the entire system that's set up, like if it were to be something that happened instantly, think of the culture shock that everyone would have because of the things that we became accustomed to. So it's one of those
Ooh.
things where you would literally have to relearn everything.
Yeah, we're not prepared for that.
Yeah.
We need to help each other first.
Yeah. We all need growth. Okay. So, whenever you came into sex work, what kind of made you venture over into it? Was it something that you had guidance with? Did you kind of just, oh, I'm curious? Or was it one of those things you were kind of pushed that way because something else going on in your life? Did you have like friends that helped with the exposure? What made you get into it?
Okay, I have so many things to say about this because I've sifted through it in my time, being like, what was going on in my life to like, yeah, yeah, okay. It was just when I turned 18, I can remember being on a canoe trip. Um, I was on a canoe trip and I turned 18 and like we were still completing the trip. I was away at camp. Um, and I remember like I was a very sexual creature, like at a young age, and I definitely like put myself in a lot of like very dangerous situations because I didn't have access to information and I didn't
Right.
have a trustworthy system. Like I was rebelling against my mother. Like I was exploring myself without really understanding. Like I started menstruating super young. And yeah, and just like having to like understand my body at a very young age because I've been chronically ill is interesting. And I remember my birthday happening and me being like, hey, I'm going to be a porn star. I'm going to do it. Everyone wants me to go to school. They want me to be a fucking nurse. I've been told my whole life I should be a doctor and that I'm so smart and that I have to do something with that. And I'm over here like, oh, I just like to make things and make people laugh and shit and move
Right.
and dance and play. And it was not like an acceptable thing. And I figure skated at a young age. So I did have like this kind of like, people always ask, like, oh, did you do anything before you did pole? And I do attribute a lot of my like love of pole to that and like spinning in general. But I don't know, this like entry started like early with like my introduction to like porn at a young age, just access to the internet and like being able to explore things. And yeah, I was like, I'm gonna be a porn star. And then I went to school and I was like, well, I can't. And then I had a really unpleasant interaction with the school that I was in, about kind of like me being very open about like body image and like mental health stuff. And like
Right.
it was a very interesting time in my life. And I left and was like, I do not want to participate in this like super gross structure of a bunch of adults that are, it's not actually fair here. Like they they've been scheming us, and I was just like not interested. And I was like, okay, now what? Like, I have no idea what I'm gonna do. I moved back home, and just like everything in my life was shifting, and I had a really unpleasant interaction transpire with a family member, and I found myself like with two young dogs, one who had a lot of medical needs, and I was essentially homeless. I had a friend that was able to house me for a bit, but it was very much like, okay, what the hell is going to happen?
Right.
And I had a full-time job, and it was just not paying the bills. So I kind of got involved with this person that I had known through like the party scene that I was in and the dance scene. And they kind of like took me under their wing and then introduced me to some people who were trying to take advantage of my like vulnerability. And
Right.
I was just like, I'm good. Like, I'm so good. Like, I'm gonna do this on my own. If you're gonna encourage me to do certain types of things that are just, I'm gonna go figure that out for myself.
Right.
And she had another friend who was like a dancer at the time, and she was like, oh, okay, like if you're actually serious about this, like I have a friend, like we can go get some stuff, we can get clothes, we can go with her, and she'll drive, and we can give her gas money, and let's do it. And then we did it, and
Right.
I started stripping, and I was like, okay, well, you know what, this was my in. I always wanted to be a porn star. And
Right.
it was like this like era of like meeting people, because I was connected online just like already, and kind of was able to connect with a lot of other sex workers like pretty quickly, whereas like a lot of other dancers I knew like did not have an online presence at all. And yeah, I just kind of like started blending those two things very quickly and being like, I'm gonna do all of this really good, really well, because I like arts and crafts, and I love to dance. And yeah, I just like really kind of like, it was I need the money, but also like I really want to do this, and like life is where it is right now, and hey, like the universe is unfolding as it should, and here we are.
100%. And then you ended up solely working for yourself. So it's a huge success story. Like, this is a huge success story. Like, don't let them downplay their position right now, because huge success story. And I'm super proud of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I am too. Honestly, it is one of those things where like I never fathomed, and like I never really ever had support even as like a child in terms of like the things I wanted to pursue. It was very much like everyone acknowledged that I was like smart and great, but it was like I was suffering on my own, like figuring things out. And like I didn't have very much support as a skater like that. I think like watching other skaters have like this
support system,
community, and this support from their family, and me being like, yeah, every single practice nobody's here for me. Like I was a small child, like I was like 11 years old up until I was like 16, going to train by myself. And it was interesting, and being alone has been like a very scary thing, but like I did really well swimming alone in the industry, because like I find a lot of the dancers that I know, like a lot of people like to work in pairs. It's easier sometimes to bounce off somebody else, which I get when I can. Oh boy, do you listen, people already complain about me talking to myself into a camera, basically. Imagine just like I know there's a room full of people, and I would get so enraged sometimes. I'd be like, oh, why am I here? This is I would get like that at the club too, where I'm just like, you are not here to appreciate me, and I'm just like giving you way too much energy right now. And oh boy, I can feel it like draining from me. So it was just, I don't know, I got comfortable with like figuring out how to work alone. I was always very much like a team player, and I like ran myself ragged at other jobs, like doing the most for the team, but like that not being reciprocated for me. And so I'm kind of still working on that, because I definitely still give a lot, and that's still good. I still want to give. I just want to give in different ways.
Right. And it's nice to feel, one, appreciated, and two, that some of that energy comes back to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Now, the industry itself, do you feel there are certain qualities that you have to have? And what strengths do you feel you have for those qualities?
I was thinking about this in the car yesterday. I was like, damn, like the world just is all about customer servicing everybody. Like even when
Yeah.
you're not working,
Yeah.
like it is about like, and some of that is like pleasantries, but some of it's like when I ask people, like when I remember, oh, like the teller at the bank is a human being, like I should ask them how their day is going.
Right.
And I remember that. I'm like, oh, that we're forgetting this, right? Because we're like, we need the money, and we a lot of people, I see it all the time where we just kind
Mm-hmm.
of get very complicit and just like kind of
You're
numbed
pressed for
out.
time. You have all these other things
Yeah,
coming up. Yeah.
and that's so valid. But yeah, just kind of trying to figure out that for myself. What was your question again?
Qualities for the industry when it
Ah,
comes to
valid. Yeah, I guess I don't know. I think any successful business has like, I don't think you need to go take a business class, but like there's
Mhm.
a lot of information out there now. I think like learning from other people, trial and error, and like really
Mhm.
just staying true to like what your needs are. Like,
Right.
it's hard because I think it's very easy in this industry to forget like the money that is coming in. Like we get accustomed to having, but still in a like a lack mindset, and that when we do, I don't know. I just find that when we chase the money, it freaking runs from us. And it's like that like cycle of like anxiety about it. And then
Yes.
like the fear of like you don't do something that you are like thinking like, oh, this might be good for my business. Like maybe I would like to do this, or I don't want to do
Mhm.
this anymore. And you don't honor that. And I just feel like it's so hard because it just comes back to like the notion of like not posting certain things on your main
Mhm.
because it's unprofessional, but then also we're human beings, and
Right.
this like really kind of
Hard
difficult
balance.
nuance to balance. And
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any specific qualities. I think that people are in the industry for a variety of reasons,
Mhm.
and like that's so true to every industry, right? Like we have to
Yes.
work, we are just trying to find ways to survive, and this is an industry where there is so much potential for your boundaries to be violated because the legislation in general violates our boundaries
Right.
and harms and restricts us as human beings and makes our work more difficult and more unsafe. It's like even just like we have free healthcare in Canada, but why don't we have free mental health care?
Yeah.
Why do so many of my friends have substance issues now? Not even necessarily just being in the industry, but like women I know that have substance abuse issues because they have been abused by so many men, like
Right.
so many people, and also just abused by people in general. And that's just like
Mhm.
cycle of like a lot of vicious things. And I don't know, there's a lot of reasons why people could be in the industry, and I think there's
Mhm.
a lot of like people assume that people are in the industry for the wrong reasons
Right.
because they have this like stigma towards the industry. They can't fathom
Mhm.
like, people can't fathom the notion of somebody being a drug dealer to like fund their community either. But it's like people can't fathom the idea that like pimps are not all evil, because the
Right.
idea is to have like a manager or a business, somebody to protect you.
Yes.
Like that
Protection.
idea that like, I don't know, there's this disconnect, and not everybody's here, and not everybody's going to be here forever either. Like some
Right.
people use this as a stepping stone, and that's fine. But I think for me and for my success, it has come from like me just being myself. And that is not something that's possible for a lot of people. It took me a
Mhm.
long while to like understand that, when people were telling me, no, I have a persona. Like I'm completely different when I'm at work. And I'm like,
That's
I get
exhausting.
that. Sure. Like I know how to act. I was a theater kid, but
Mhm.
this doesn't feel like I can do this and feel safe doing this if I'm
Yes.
not. And then there's the layers of like, oh, well, maybe I'm just a little naive. And like, there's definitely been times where I've like shared too much information with somebody, or just
Mhm.
not understood that somebody was trying to manipulate me or take advantage. And I've learned to like I've learned to like assess situations now. I'm like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
negotiating, right?
To
I'm trying to figure out
filter.
I'm trying to find out what the boundaries
Yeah.
are. What are
Right.
the boundaries? What are the limits? What are the expectations? And that's like been very something I've also encountered a lot of like people being like, no, because I'm like, no, I'm doing it this way. And people are like, but that's not how it's done. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't care.
Right, right.
So
I work for myself.
yeah.
These are my rules.
Yeah, I'm the boss. I'm an asshole.
My biggest thing whenever people try to talk shit about people that are pimps that are in on the good spectrum is the fact that they don't look at all these actors that have these agents. They don't look at all these modeling agencies that book and find stuff for people.
Yeah.
Like, that is a safety measure. As long as it's a safe kind of environment and a safe kind of person that's in that position. It's not one of those things that everybody is like that. No, but they have that stigma.
Mm-hmm. And it like perpetuates the narrative that they want to, they want to continue this like perception of sex work is inherently dangerous, sex work is inherently exploitative,
And
sex work
abusive.
is not something that a woman of good status would choose. This is what the dregs of society do, and we don't care to take care of the dregs. It's very classist and very, I don't know, there's so many layers to it, and I'm just over here like, meh, I don't have time for it. Like, I'm gonna continue to do what I'm gonna do because people are gonna pay for it.
100%. Okay, my
some people, the reality is some people are not listening to me talk like this on podcasts. They're literally just booking me when they want to see me and and they get their beautiful interaction with me. It's like your nail girl. You don't always know what your nail girl is posting on Facebook.
Right. And I'm sure she doesn't post everything on there anyway. Come on now.
Yeah. So, and that's it too. That's also it as well, is this like, do we have to have like a business page? And a lot of people also don't see sex work as a business.
Yeah.
A lot of people in the industry.
That's the next question, actually. How do you see a regular job different, like the 9-to-5 jobs, the typical accepted jobs, different than sex work? And I'm going to plug up my headset while we're answering this question.
I think a big part of it is that even when you're like you're hired by a company and booked as an entertainer, you're still usually classified as an independent contractor. I think having the freedom, like it's just like, it allows you to write off more things. It allows you to like have more control. It allows you to apply for like things like for grants for your business, rather than like, you work for somebody else and, maybe they don't care to get that type of funding. I don't know. I think it's also just different in that like it is far more accommodating. It's so interesting to think about how like I personally, and I think a lot of people do, but get really frustrated with like when things aren't like, our life is so fast paced. Right. And when things are not fast paced, like when your Uber is taking longer and people are like, ugh, and valid, but also, holy crap, like what, instant travel?
Right.
We are so ungrateful. This is so wild. We have so much time to do all of these things. And
you don't even have to leave. You don't even have to leave.
You don't even have to leave your house. I can order groceries here. And like part of that is like, I'm like in awe of humans. Like I think about like, oh my gosh, there's people that are doing it all. Like they're these perfect people. And I'm like, maybe it's just image we're being fed, right? And like, I know people are out here suffering, but like, we're not telling people the realities. Most people aren't sharing the kind of like the mess that their house gets in. Like, it's a lot of, I think
they got to keep that in the closet.
Disconnect. Yes, literally. I can't post this on my main page.
Yeah.
I can't talk about this. This is not stuff we can talk about outside of the family. This is not something I can talk about outside of a doctor. A lot of people don't understand it either. Some people don't like to talk about things they don't understand. That's valid.
Yeah.
I like to talk about things that I
understand. Well, I also enjoy the knowledge that you can if you don't have it, maybe you're having a discussion with someone else and they do have that knowledge. I'm the type of person, I'm like, yeah, I don't know everything, but I want to have conversations with other people that do know things that I don't know. Maybe I know something they don't know. Conversing,
Yes.
that's how you trade information.
Yeah, I want to trade.
Yeah,
Give
that's
me all the knowledge.
yes. I am
Yeah.
super glad that other people out there are like that, because some people, that's like a hard limit for them. They're like, oh, you know more than I do. Okay, I'm done with this conversation. Move on to the next subject, whatever we're going to talk about, because this makes me uncomfortable. You're invalidating my intelligence because I don't know this and I don't want to talk about it. Like, no, I'm not. I want to have this conversation so we can grow as people. Like, I want to grow. Help me grow. Let me help you grow. But
that's so interesting. I had an interaction the other day that was literally like that, and I just like went full ADHD mode, and I was like, actually,
hyper fixated.
I was like, oh, this is not going to be received well, because this person is now going to feel like I'm yelling at them because I'm just like sputtering out information, because I'm like, you
so
don't
excited.
know this.
I'm so excited.
You're speaking about this like you actually know it, but like you are so uninformed, but you said that so confidently, and it's like it is actually coming from a place of like pure naive ignorance, but it's just the fact that there's this like disconnect, because this person was like, the question I asked was like, do you consider yourself a sex worker? They're a tantrika and they do dom work, but they don't ever physically touch people. So I'm like, this is cool, I'm open to this.
Right.
Do you consider yourself a sex worker? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, okay. But they're like, but my work isn't illegal. And I was like,
that doesn't matter.
That it is actually, though. It still is.
It wouldn't matter, because they're still in sex work. Like, you can't put a line there, be like, oh no, but this person's different or this person's less. That's what I received from that. Like, this person thought that other people were less than because they thought that they were legal. Like,
we're just like maybe framing it in the sense that having a legal, it's like cannabis, right? Like the people that used to talk about having like cannabis. Oh, did we freeze?
No.
Okay, cool. You just were you're so focused. I love like, oh no, did we freeze? Okay, just checking. But yeah, it was just I lost it. Where were we?
The legality.
Oh, yeah. People don't know. And it's so, I'm like, there's a studio here in the city that's doing they have a bar. They have the license for the bar. They're going to open a bar in the studio, but it's just for one night of the month. And then they're going to have dancers and they're going to be dancing.
Right.
And they're going to have people and they're going to be allowed to tip. I'm sorry, but the bylaws state that any sort of erotic performance, if you're in pleaser heels and lingerie, I'm sorry, that is not the same as a stage costume. You are not doing a burlesque. There is a level of nudity there, and there has been restrictions on establishments that have those types of performers, and they're getting away with doing this because they're presenting it in a more palatable fashion, which is why it's so interesting to me how many tantric priestesses are coming into this space of, oh, I'm a sex worker, religious prostitution, and that's valid. But there's also like, there's this line of whorephobia that's just like, I'm like, okay, me too. Hi, hello. I've been doing this for years, but I've never called it tantra. I've called it sex work, and now you're calling it sex work too. So if this title resonates with me and I want to learn this, like, we need to open the doors for that. But there's this like, it's almost this like level of like, I'm not involved. I'm not involved with the illegal shit. I'm not involved.
Yeah.
And yeah, even just like how many porn stars are like, I'm like, the only difference between what you're doing, you're getting paid to have sex on camera. I mean, you're paid to have sex. It's the same thing. The only difference is the camera.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. 100%. And that's what I don't like within the community. There's so many people that break it up to say, oh, well, I'm a part of this side of the community. And then they look down upon people on this side of the community. Like it's all the same community. Like
that happens within like a lot of communities, right? It's like the microaggressions. It's the like,
it's like the version of colorism or something.
Lateral whorephobia, the lateral like trauma we cause each other because we're still sifting through our own shit, like, and experiencing shit from the world.
Yeah.
Like like how much like drama there is between like the lesbian community and the gay male community, and like just the dislike and disdain a lot of like gay men have towards trans people or towards sex workers. Like I'm not painting people with the same brush, but like these types of interactions have transpired enough for there to be discourse around it and for people to have felt unwelcome in their communities. And then I think about like, wait. Aren't we just all humans? This is our whole community. The world is the community. The earth is the community.
Right. Be supportive.
How?
Be like, you're a human. I'm a human. I support you in being yourself. As long as you're safe, you're consensual, and you're not hurting someone, I accept you. I love you. Let's support each other. Like, why can that not be more?
We don't have to like each other. But also, I just think that's the reality. There is this like balance. There are going to be people that in our lifetime are not going to get it, and they'll come back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I am. That's where I am too. Okay, so my next question is kind of a touchy one. If it's something that you're uncomfortable answering, I completely understand.
I will let you know.
Okay. Have you ever had a dangerous situation where you felt that your health, whether it be mentally, physically, was at risk?
Yes, several, many. The first thing that came to mind was like most recently, I guess like physical was like the like precancerous cells I have, and like the likelihood that like even if it was like the reality is there's probably like I probably contracted HPV from like one of my partners over the years, and at some point like that is a risk that I took, but you know, unprotected sex is a thing, and we do what we can. They don't always test for HPV. I'm like a now more educated human, but that like the scariness of like the lack of the lack of sexual health education, even as somebody who was very interested in it at a young age, the lack of access to that, especially as a sex worker, and just like people deterring me from things when I know like the information is like the doctor's saying, nah, it's fine. And there's documentation saying, no, you should probably do this. And I'm like, okay, well, can I not do this? And that was just like a very like, oh, wow. Like I had to take 4 weeks off of work. I was potentially at risk for having pain for the rest of my life, having intercourse. So that was pretty scary, but that was obviously very much like about my own body and like the risk that poses. Like, oh, it's like a dancer breaking their leg in a car accident and then you may never dance again, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah. Oh, now what? But also I've had a couple stalkers, and most recently I have this like guy who continuously makes like Snapchats and just sends me like pictures and videos of him like jerking off, and I've like repeatedly told him like do not contact me. So at this point I think I have enough like photos that I'm hoping I can just like submit a I don't know if I want to expose myself to the police like that, but I already have had to interact with the police in London, Ontario, and I know this person knows me from there. So yeah, I'm just like kind of figuring that out, because like the internet is so hard. Like they don't really care about actually stopping people that like this dude lives in the area. They want to wait
until there's some kind of physical assault before they do anything.
But if you whipped your ding dong out in public in front of me, you would get charged.
Yes.
But because you're doing it on Snapchat, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, which is completely insulting, because it's literally the same thing. You're assaulting someone and action should be taken. Like
so that I've definitely had some really violent threats to my life. I had some guy who like originally tried to book me in Ottawa, who then like said he was going to come back, and you know, like just horrible things. Like continuously messaged me from other numbers, and like when he wouldn't get through my screening process, of course, because after that incident, like I have upped certain things that I need, and you know, it ebbs and flows. Like I will be honest, like I kind of judge every book differently. Like I have to, it's like at the club, like I would interact with people based on the energy they were giving me. That's just really hard over like text message with people. So like adding things like having a phone call with somebody and, you know, like I need to see what you look like. I need your picture. I need to verify who the hell you are, because like I'm not even gonna go meet up with somebody off of Tinder without video calling them first. Are you dumb? Like I'm not trying to get taken. I watched that movie when I was young. My dad said not happening. So, you know, I don't know. Yeah, sorry. I have to pee actually. Do you mind if I just like go to the bathroom real quick?
Go.
And then we can, I don't know, next question. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
So thank you guys for staying for the entire show. It's going to be awesome to get everything finished up. She's been an awesome guest so far. So I can't wait to see what the rest of her answers are. We'll patiently wait. Just kidding. Impatiently wait. Just kidding. Patiently.
Thank you so much. I also grabbed a snack, so.
You're very welcome. So that was actually going to be one of my next questions. Your screening process, you have it for your safety, obviously. The whole screening process itself, you mentioned that it has gotten more strict because of personal safety issues and concerns. So what's your screening process look like? Is it one of those things where like I myself send out like an application that they have to complete for compatibility, and then I have a list of other things? Do you do something similar? Is it something that you just kind of, oh, well, let me see if they're compatible with me, or is it just like general things that you need to know first?
So I allow everyone to approach me. I have seen a lot of people that are like, I just don't answer hi messages or hey messages. I just don't. I have come to realize I would like to not do that, because I think that there are a lot of people that are uneducated about the industry, that are scared, and they reach out and they just say hey because they don't know who they're talking to. They're scared, they don't know, and they might be like texting from a phone where they have a partner and like they are gonna have to delete these messages, and just like not wanting to incriminate themselves. Like there's so many things, because like I think, you know, there's a lot of stigma, and I'm just like in a place where I think I know how to keep myself safe as I'm able to. And like I recently said yes to a call that like I know plenty of people do. Hey, listen, no shame, but for me, the idea of meeting up with somebody and hopping in their car and giving them a blowjob when they could drive away with me in it, like I love car play for sure, definitely. But with somebody that I don't know, somebody not willing to tell me who they are, somebody who's not willing to give me their ID, I have had a very traumatic experience where somebody that I knew was almost killed that way. And it's just like there's a lot of things that have happened within my work that have impacted my personal life in terms of like me feeling comfortable with people in general, just because I'm like, oh wow, I actually have to be mindful that like most people don't know how to do this safely, so I can't just be doing it willy-nilly, even in my personal life, even if I trust these people, because I kind of need to screen them out first. And I decided to just meet up with this. I was like, you know what, frick it, it's gonna be this much money. It was I would say an obscene amount of money for a 15-minute interaction. And they actually just met up with me and sat underneath a willow tree and wanted to talk, but they, I think, wanted to try and funny because I normally wouldn't have accepted this type of call just because I'm like safety, but I was like, you know what? What's the worst thing that's gonna happen in my neighborhood? Like,
Right.
I will punch this motherfucker out. Like, they gotta have they better have something. They better have really ill intent, or like I'm fighting back and they're done. Like,
Right.
I am not interested. Okay, and just like most men I meet are really actually very timid, and they're not.
Oh yes.
Like when the people get to me, I think it's so funny because so many times people are like, "Oh, I was really nervous because you're kind of scary on the internet," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Valid, but like, let me hug you." And this young man who like he just had so many questions. He was struggling with his religious upbringing and his feelings towards sex and pleasure, and he did not want. I was like, why didn't you just ask me to have a conversation with you? Why did you try and manipulate me into this? Like, like what you did was like, I just said fuck it because I was feeling reckless.
Right.
And I needed some dopamine. I will admit that sometimes I have definite, like, I just will be like, well, you know what? It's kind of like, I just play it safe. I'm like, I'm safe, I'm fine. But like, I don't take all the steps and all the precautions. It's like the one time you decide to like have unprotected sex and you get pregnant, you know? So I was like, just in a place where like it wasn't because I had this intense financial need. I was just like, I don't really want to. I'm like, if this dude wants this, he's gonna pay for it, and he did. And it was just like, okay, you could have just like, I would have had a 15-minute conversation with you for like $200 potential. It depends on what you wanted to ask. Like we could have had this conversation if you had been genuine about how you were approaching me. And I was just like, ugh. This is why I want to take advantage of these situations and feel out each interaction. Like if I ask you for the information, you better be providing it. Otherwise, I'm going to have the right to refuse. I'm going to take the rest whether or not, but it's like, I don't know. I understand why a lot of people and myself even previously have been very, very strict, but I think allowing some space for like, okay, you know what? I understand that you're not comfortable with that, but here are a couple alternate options. And like, let me explain to you why. Some dudes will just straight up be like, I'm just trying to get some, look, I'm just trying to bone. And I don't give a crap about this. And I'm like, okay, bye. Like, that's fine. That's totally cool. Like, you don't care genuinely about making me feel comfortable. So why would I put myself at risk anyways? And sometimes you have to, because you're like, oh, I have bills to pay. And you just like, you kind of eat it. You like put on a little bit of a mask. And you become this like, okay, sir. Yeah, you just customer service them. Yeah. Sometimes it puts us in uncomfortable situations too, because like sometimes that means like letting people push our boundaries. And then after the fact, having to like observe it and acknowledge it, because in the moment you're like, oh, then now this like 6'2" tall man of like 250 pounds is like going to be annoyed with me. Ugh, like, I don't want to have to physically remove this human right now. Right. All the possibilities that could happen. So yeah, my screening process is on my website. I will be like changing some things, even just in terms of like I'm filming a lot more again, and I just need to be very mindful because there is a prevalence. Like I don't have access to be getting tested every day. I don't have access to be getting tested even every week. Right. It's just not a possibility. Like the resources are not there within the city. Like I could go through my physician, but that is honestly a pain and I can't get the results, and it's just, there needs to be something else. But I go as often as I can. I just know that other people aren't. Even within the industry, like I know that a lot of human beings aren't able to go like every 2 weeks, even like some can't because they can't out themselves to their physicians. Yeah. Some can't because like there's so many reasons, but I'm just like in a place where I'm like, this is something I have to consider in terms of my health as well, because I have already experienced like the damage of HPV, like oral pharyngeal cancer is like a very real thing that's like up and coming, because people don't realize they can get infections from having unprotected oral. And it's like, yeah, I'm happy to like make accommodations for people and like be considerate, but it's like, if I'm putting my life at risk, I'm gonna have hazard pay. So like I'm also need to take the time to like rest for myself and yeah, I'm just kind of being more fluid, I feel, and open because again, I even just like, I recently had a Dom session where I was like, okay, buddy, like you want some pretty intense things,
Right.
and this could go sideways.
Right.
I need to have a safety plan in place. If
Yes.
anything happens, if you become unconscious at any point, if you like, you gotta be to be honest with me. Are you on any medications? Do you want or intend to take any sort of medications that might stimulate you or might cause you to have a seizure or something? Little blue pill, perhaps. Like, I need to know. We need to have this open dialogue. There is no shame here.
Yes.
And initially, he was like, this is just too much drama for me. And I was like, sir, you want me to force intoxicate you? Okay. Cardi B already got flack for that, for coming out and being like, yeah, I did this. If we're doing this consensually, you should have no problem signing a little paperwork for me to be like, I consent to this. Yes. It's like going to the jumping, like the place with the trampolines, and you got to write a waiver like, I might die.
Yes, 100%.
Form. Like, so taken aback by that, though.
That's one of those things that a lot of people don't look at as imperative, but it absolutely is, for their safety and for our safety. Like, whenever you're looking at something like that, you can't be like, oh, I'm going to take your word for it, because what if they change their mind when they're not in that mindset? Because people do.
Yep. They can say no, they can change their mind. For example, I created a beautiful vessel, a jar full of yellowy liquid. It was a beautiful bladder donation. And at the end of the session, this person wanted it. And then they didn't. And then they were like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, I don't care.
Right.
Toilet, flesh, that's okay.
Right.
Sorry, because you went for a massage and you told the massage like therapist you wanted your shoulders done really rough, but then you get there and you're like, oh, never mind. And they just are like, no, I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, I'm going to force you to take this. Like, no, that's not how consent works. And so many people think that consent means once you say yes, it doesn't matter what you say after that. But it does matter. It absolutely matters. Every second matters.
Yeah.
Okay. So next we'll move into okay, we got 2 more questions. First, do you have any regrets since you started sex work? Is there something that made you kind of question yourself, or be like, maybe I shouldn't have did that, or maybe I shouldn't have been with this person, or anything that you're like really regretful?
Oh, I don't usually have regrets. I use them as lessons. They teach me things. I reflect on things. No, because I think the word regret doesn't sit well with me. I would say I wish I had the knowledge I had now.
Oh, yes.
But, yeah, I wish I had the knowledge I had now. I do have just a delivery that's about to arrive, so I'm just going to tell them to. I'm just interrupting myself right now. No, I don't know. Like, I've thought about it a lot in terms of like me getting banned from the States. Hey, I did what I could with what I had. Like,
100%.
We got to be mindful and thoughtful, and as much as we can. We can't trust everybody. Like, I've definitely learned that in terms of the industry, that just because you're a part of my community doesn't mean that like you are my community, or you have the best interest out for me. And yeah, just I wish I had started my business sooner. I wish I had like just taken it as like it was just hard, right? I was like freaking 19 years old.
Right. You need to go get your stuff?
Pardon?
Did you need to go get your stuff? Was there somebody knocking?
No, we can finish. My dog is just gonna cry at the door.
Oh, okay. Okay, so the very last question that I have for you, it was a 2-part question. You answered one part. Did it help you learn anything? So I'm really, really grateful that it did. The last question that I have for you is, how has sex work helped you grow as a person? And within sex work, did you gain any kind of confidence or anything positive?
Oh yeah. It's helped me like have boundaries. Like it's
Mm.
helped me to like know my worth, which is like I know that's I don't know, is that a cliche? Like
No.
that's my experience, you know? Like I just think that I have had to learn how to be so strict in my
Hmm.
boundaries because otherwise men will they will R word me, okay?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or rob me. Like
Yeah.
I need to be very mindful to protect myself
Right.
even more so than I was prior to now. And that has allowed me to get really good at saying no. It
Hmm.
has not completely translated to my personal life. I'm still working on it. I'm working on it, working on it.
We're getting there though.
Yeah.
But overall, it has made a positive experience on your life and your growth, right?
Yeah, it definitely allowed me to realize what like I have a really horrible family physician and he has neglected me in my health my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I was really struggling with that for a long time and I still am. And this allows me to take the time I need to rest
Right.
because otherwise like it's go, go, go. I don't know how people do it. I don't know how I'm doing it. So
Yeah. Good.
yeah,
Self-care, self-love. It's an
yeah,
amazing
and
journey.
movement and drink your water. And I don't know. It's a lot more complex than that, but it does start with like it. I think right now the message I'm like going into the next like stage of my life with is be the best friend you have always needed for
Mhm.
yourself.
Yes, that's great advice. Super great
Yeah,
advice. Like, I
yeah.
love it. I love it. Well, I will let you get back to your day, but thank you so much for being featured on the podcast, being so
Yeah, thank you so
amazing.
much for having me. Honestly, it's been so nice to connect with you like this. So if you're interested in ever just having a coffee to chat and like talk about our future plans, that would be great.
I'm
Yeah.
here for it. I'm here for it. Oh, and anyone that wants to reach out to Sammy, make sure you do. She has multiple amazing pages. Let's see, at Samantha Knox. So go check her out. Go check her out because I'll leave it in the bio. So if you want to reach out, you can. Other than that, thank you guys for coming to Forbidden Depths, and I'll see you next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Sammy.